Good morning, honorable guests. Just a little background. These maps that you are now going to see was compiled by me over 26 years, but they're only a little of the maps that I've done. And so we have decided to do this to show you how Africa has evolved. Africa's socio-economic, political and geographical outlook has gone through various stages in the development path over the years, and what better way to present it visually, which allows for easier understanding and interpretation of the data. You won't believe it, these maps I did for the grade 10 history book. And you will see where the Sahara Desert is now, there were dense forests years ago. Then this is Africa, the vegetation map of Africa, that wonderful colorful one. And then we have a look at the future. What is going to be in the future if desertification goes on? And this relates to Shingi's climate change. This was Africa in 1800. This map was compiled by one of our previous researchers, and then I had to redraw the map nicely. It shows the trade era of Africa. And then came the colonization time of Africa. It was a time when France and Britain experienced unprecedented industrial and agricultural development and became superpowers. They were then joined by the new German empire that was formed in the early 1870s. And their rapidly growing industries were developing the need for larger markets and new sources of raw material, and that they got from Africa. Then political rivalry in 1914 gave new impetus to European imperialism, and with it the imperative for territorial expansion. And then in 1955, that was after World War II, the decolonization process started, and you will also see that Germany lost the war. So Cameroon, which was German territory, was divided into two, to Britain and France. Tanganyika, which was then German East Africa, became Tanganyika under British rule, and Southwest Africa, which was German Southwest Africa, under South African, administered by South Africa. Then decolonization went on. In 1970, a lot of the countries have gained independence already, and by 2000, all the countries were independent, with the latest one, Namibia, in 1989 became independent. And then there was another country added in 2011, South Sudan, that seceded from Sudan in July 2011. I'm a bit behind with all my things. I'm a bit fast. Also, South Africa evolves and had changes. We've had the four provinces in 1910. And then in 1983, the government had the four independent countries, that was Ciskei, Transkei, Venda and KwaZulu-Natal, and then the national states that were self-regulatory. And now you know all the 9 provinces of South Africa today. What will the future be of South Africa? More provinces, less provinces? We have to think about that, especially with the municipalities that is now degrading. Then the colonization time and the borders that were drawn caused a lot of border conflicts, and this is just to show the ethnic groups. When you read about it, then you don't realize actually what is going on. Look where the Somali is going into Ethiopia, and if you take the Somali map itself, all of those groups are into Kenya, Ethiopia, and parts of Djibouti. And this was also a map I done for Czech. You remember Czech? He did his field work there last year of the Kenya, Rwanda speaking people, the extent that they go into DRC. And this was compiled by our researcher Dr. Maposa to show the nature and distribution of conflicts in Africa. Then the population. Let me just get my notes on population. It has grown rapidly over the past century, and because of a low life expectancy and of below 50 years, in some of the African countries, Africa now has a very large youth population. In 2010, Nigeria was listed 7th on the list of 10 countries with the highest population. It now has a population of 170 million. And by 2050, I think Ethiopia and Egypt will catch up, and Nigeria will then be listed 3rd on that list of countries with of 10 highest population. Then the urban population growth, you can see it from 2003 up to 2007, and then in 2010 we have 51 urban areas with populations that are over 1 million. We have Africa has 2 urban agglomerations, that is the Nile Delta and then the greater Lagos area. And then Gauteng has the largest urban population south of the equator, which is 11 million. And then there are the growing coastal agglomerations, and then as Shingi has pointed out, which are now the areas that is going to be affected by floods, and they are still growing as well. Okay, this is the HIV, just to show you it is widespread in most of sub-Saharan Africa. But now, by 2011, they have discussed that non-communicable diseases such as cardiovascular diseases, the cancers, the diabetes, and chronic lung diseases are now the leading causes of deaths. And almost 30% of those non-communicable deaths occur to people under the age of 60 in the low and middle income countries, compared to only 13% in high income countries. So with HIV, and that they have found some antidote drug, South Africa is the leading country, we have to look at other diseases as well, and not only focus on HIV. And then unconstitutional changes of government. When you read there has been so many coups in a country, you don't actually realize it, but once you've seen the dates on a map like this, you can see how it was, but it has come down from 2004. I'm sorry, I left out the date on the second map. It's 2008. By 2008, the countries that have more than one or two changes have fallen from 16 to 14. And then the multi-party systems and elections. From 1989, we chose 1989 because that was the year Namibia became independent. It looked like that in 2005. In 2008, it has gone up. More countries that has elections, and as you know, I haven't done the 2010 or 12 one yet. You will know all those countries will now have democratic elections. And the future, I hope this is a little bit. This was a map I had to do for an NGO in 2005. And this was their suggestion for Africa. More states, I don't know, maybe it will help. And the Republic of South Africa will now include all those Southern African countries of Botswana, Namibia as well. The other thing we can ask, a United States of Africa. But the question I ask, will it be feasible if you look at the real size of Africa, the true size of Africa? People think the United States of Africa and the United States of Africa will be the same. And I thank you.